Maine Forest Products Council in 2004. Pat leads a diverse membership involving all aspects of industry: loggers, truckers, lawyers, bankers, landowners, forest management firms, land trusts, and forest products companies. I can't imagine trying to manage that diverse group. I think I have trouble with the faculty here, but man, you help all of us. He builds consensus among members to help influence legislation and policies in Augusta that support the forest products community in the state, for which I am, I'm sure others are very grateful for. Recognition of his extraordinary challenge in leadership and communication, Pat received the W.D. Hagenstein Communications Award from the Society of American Foresters in 2014. In recent years, Pat was a key partner in developing the Forest Opportunity Roadmap Maine, or For Maine, and blueprint for future development and support of Maine's forest products industry. Pat, come up and receive your award.
Get my notes out just so I don't ramble too much here. But thank you very much for this honor. Voted on by the faculty. My brother said that my father would be proud of me to receive such an award. My father was a professor of educational psychology at the University of Connecticut. And he valued his association with the faculty. As kids, we got to listen in on all those faculty parties and learn lots of interesting things. But I've benefited from my continued connections to the school over the course of my career. And I thank the faculty again. I'm honored to be here with my fellow honorees, Mike Dan and Ken Lawson. Mike reminded me there was a world outside of Augusta, and Ken answered those phone calls that I sent in to him regularly about how to interpret the statistics on the forests of Maine. So they've both been a part of my career, and I've benefited from their friendship and counsel on forest issues for quite some time. So congratulations to both you guys, too. The interesting thing about my career, and maybe it's not so unique, but as a Connecticut boy, I came up here. I arrived as a freshman at the university, and I've never left Maine. I followed in the footsteps of my high school buddy, Chuck Dadzik, who was a year ahead of me, and he encouraged me to come to UMO and join him on the Woodsman's team. That's, I've watched my kids make their choices about which colleges to go to, and that wasn't necessarily a bad matrix to use. I had a lot of fun on the Woodsman's team. Somehow the university prepared me for somewhat of a Forrest Gump career. It allowed me to live and raise a family in Maine. My wife and I decided to put down roots in Maine, and that required flexibility. But I can tell you, my training as a University of Maine forester allowed me to be a horse logger, a gatekeeper of Katahdin Iron Works, a silviculturist for a recycling company, a solid waste company executive, and the director of development for a social services agency. So you never know what a forester can do. And now, for the last 20 or so years, I've been a policy wonk and economic development kind of promoter. So it's been an interesting career. The other interesting about my career is that while my academic performance was not stellar as an undergraduate, so Mike and I had a similar path, I thrived on all the relationships I made and being part of the forestry community. Former Woodsman's teammates, Chuck Gadzik, Joel Swanton, and the late Steve Coleman, those folks became future industry leaders. and they served on the Maine Forest Products Executive Committee and helped me guide forest policy in the state of Maine. I'm working with classmates now who are environmental managers for large mills, Jim Brooks at Sappi, Chuck Crasty at Pixel. I'm working with legislators who were in school. Tom Saviello wasn't a classmate, but an instructor, and Jim Boyle, who was a classmate of mine, is now running for another term. So it's amazing the network of people connected by our early university relationships. And my time at the university was very formative. Dr. Maxwell McCormick, Professor Emeritus, figures prominently in my professional career. After graduating with a BS in forestry, I was a forester for 5 years, and I wanted to challenge myself and build on my credentials as a silviculturist. Max has over the years established a habit of seeing the potential in stray cats like myself, and he agreed to be my graduate school advisor, and Bob Seymour came on board as well, both of them probably taking a risk with a certain new graduate student. They certainly knew me, and Max did, from several summers working with him at the Cooperative Forestry Research Unit, and he gave me a license to explore the early stand development of red spruce and balsam fir. The project involved sampling trees in the field and using a microtome from Dick Jagel's lab to prepare microscopic slides to accurately age seedlings, a real fun project. It was an important experience for me, and I'm forever grateful for the opportunity and mentorship provided by Maxwell and Bob over the years. To be inspired by a teacher is a wonderful thing, and I looked for my kids as they had their college career. Were there professors that inspired you? And so I'm always asking that question and looking for it because I had a great experience that way. So despite my aspirations to become a silviculturist for the forest industry, in reality, I'm naturally drawn to be more operationally oriented, solving problems and working with teams of people. And in an interesting way, as the executive director of the Maine Forest Products Council, many experiences have been rewarding in those aspects. While I'm not managing timberlands or supervising sawmill operations, I'm partnering with those that do. I try and make sure their opportunities are promoted by policymakers and really not hindered. The council takes the view of determining the greater good for the forestry businesses, and has been rewarding for me to see how strong competitors in the marketplace can really come together on important issues. This is a cohesiveness that comes with being connected with the forests of Maine, whether you're a mill worker, a forester, a logger, or a scientist. And this camaraderie has kept me going in sometimes challenging legislative sessions. It's the people in this business that are wonderful and that make it worthwhile to fight the fights we need to fight. I'd encourage more students to think about a career focused on the issues surrounding forest policy. It's an exciting time with the growing recognition of the role forests play in our environment. I mean, we've known that all along, but there are a lot more people really asking questions and trying to get more knowledge about the forest. I've done a breakfast tour throughout the state talking to potential legislators, candidates, and bringing my members to meet and chat with them. And there is a strong interest in that kind of situation of people wanting to understand more about carbon sequestration, more about how trees are important and what are the products of wood that we should be growing. So it's an exciting time. Once in a while, when a person gets to bring all the experience you have in a career together, along with the goodwill generated by people you've worked with to tackle a problem that's bigger than yourself, that happens now and then. And for me, I'm going to look back on what was mentioned by Bill, the Forest Opportunity Roadmap, as one of those moments. That's a project that's going to be a career milestone. It's been an initiative born out of the great brainstorming of a few university officials and industry colleagues. I think Bob Wagner and Aaron Weiskettle and some of my members sat down and said, you know, we really as a forest industry need to think about having a strategic plan. It's grown to a 6-year collaboration. The university, trade associations, government, the congressional delegation, and industry members all focused on kind of building a more resilient forest economy that ushers in new industry members focused on building more innovative bioeconomy types of products and build stronger communities. That was the premise behind the idea. With innovation led by the University of Maine Composites and Bioproducts Division and all the good work you folks are doing, investments by industry leaders, and increased awareness of the need for renewable wood materials, the future is bright for the forest products industry in Maine. Many of the folks who are here today have been a part of this project. Steve Shaler is our leader right now on the project, trying to keep all the cats herded. And Shane O'Neill has been a real good colleague in working on that project, representing the university. So it's an interesting time, and there's more to be done, definitely. So, Nutting Hall has been an important place for me, but the most significant event that happened under this roof was my acquaintance with a young and beautiful forester major named Nancy Folkwood. Nancy had just transferred from Smith College, and that's not Paul Smith, that's the other. And at the advice of a family friend, Fred Knight, who was then the dean of the College of Forest Resources, she majored in forestry, and that was a great thing. That worked out well for me. Our courtship was spontaneous and transformational. I cleaned up my act, I shaved my beard, I cut my hair, and I started attending my wife's oratorio concerts because she was a classic music singer and still is. And I can still remember the look on Dave Field's face when he saw me at one of these classic musical events, and he knew something had changed. So Nancy and I have been joint partners for over 40 years and raised our family of 3 wonderful kids surrounded by the family dairy farm in Exeter, Maine. We just graduated our youngest, William. He went to Yale, I'm sorry to say, but it was parents who were UMaine graduates that paid the tuition. And Jane, who also went to Yale, is getting married next summer, and our oldest daughter, Catherine, a baby's graduate, she's expecting our first grandchild. Not her first child, our first grandchild. So we're all very excited about that. So life is good. I don't know who to thank for all that. Maybe hats are off to Albert Nutting for making all this happen. And I say that in jest, but it also goes to show you the connection to the institution I'm a part of, Maine Forest Products Council. I think Albert Nutting had helped, one of the founding members of that organization. We have an award we give out every year to the Albert Nutting Person of the Year. So the ties are very close to the institution here. And through the faculty, I thank you again and know that you make a big difference in a lot of careers in Maine. So continue your good work. To the students, there's never a more exciting time, I think, to be out and in this forestry profession. I see lots of opportunity, lots of interest in understanding the forest, and those that understand it are going to have opportunities. So thank you very much for this honor, and look forward to seeing all of you prosper in the forest economy as well. So thank you.